Matt, I think you may want to start this off. You actually tuned into something that Jared and I have talked about before.
I did. I had to with your guys. It was, if you guys didn't hype up Game of Thrones and Breaking Bad and all these other shows as the best thing you'll ever watch in the history of Earth, maybe I would tune in. So since you guys were bashing The Idol so much, I was kind of like, I have to watch this. It can't be that bad, So we've made it through 2 episodes. I'll be quick about it because I know we're running a little long here on our return, but so 2 episodes in, I can see the negative reviews on the acting. The Weeknd is, pretty subpar, I would say. Depp's daughter, I think there's some potential there. She seems to have some potential as an actress.
Right.
I think maybe because I went into it thinking this was going to be the most grotesque thing I've ever watched in my life, that the bar was up here. It wasn't as bad as I thought. Yes, there was some weird stuff, however you want to say it. I was expecting basically a porno and, basically just the weirdest situations and everything ever. And it really wasn't.
It was.
But what I will say is the story is pretty slow. I've been waiting for it to pick up. Like, I think there's potential there. Like, it could be pretty interesting seeing the backstory of maybe what happens to a pop star, all the stuff they have to go through, all the different agents they have, and the stuff on social media that they have to control, and, performing when she's, exhausted and all this other stuff. I was like, there's something here. This could be a pretty interesting show. But my wife and I are sitting here watching, and we're kind of like, yeah, okay, yeah. And then obviously there is some weird stuff. So it's kind of like, this is kind of awkward or whatever, but but not as weird as I thought. Maybe because you guys were
sound like you like it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if we're even going to finish it. My wife even said, like, are we going to finish this? And I was like, I almost feel like I want to. I want to see what happens with her. Like, does she get out of it?
I mean, you said it, you thought it was going to be like a porno. It's kind of like all the worst parts of a porno.
Right.
The good stuff or whatever you want to say. It's so bad, man. I could rehash this damn episode or this damn show and rip it apart every week and never get sick of it. It's so bad. Yeah. I appreciate you coming on here with honest candor. Like, you didn't mind it from the sound of it, which I guess would explain why it's had these crazy ratings and why it might be coming back for another season despite all this negative publicity, man. I mean,
really
can't argue with the numbers of viewers. I mean, love me or hate me, Pete Weber, the bowling pro, you watched. That's all you could do. You watched. So I agree with what you're saying. I do think it's a good premise. You hate to have a good idea like that just kind of get blown on a cruddy show like that.
Right.
Apparently they had a director who had a totally different vision before, and we've seen pictures of like the set, what it looked like before. It almost looked like Barbie compared to like Oppenheimer or something. And so apparently this was a whole different direction that Sam Levinson, director of Euphoria, took it. I don't know, not for the better. I mean, but again, can I see like why you're sort of like drawn to it? Like in terms of like, it's like a train wreck. And, there's some decent performances somewhere to be found in there. I can see that, but I don't know, man. I can't believe you're even contemplating finishing it, if I'm honest. But
well, yeah, and I appreciate your candor as well. The thing with me, is it the worst thing I've ever seen? It's pretty bad, but it wouldn't be the absolute worst. But it just goes to show you, in Hollywood, you have to have a script, which I think the script is weak. You got to have the acting. I think the acting could have been better. Maybe it was because of the script. And you got to have a good director. And I think he dropped the ball on it. So, let's go back to your rating. What would you rate it, the 2 episodes you've seen so far on the 3-point scale?
I'm giving it at least a 1.5 based on the premise.
Okay.
Like, yes, I think the script is pretty weak also. But maybe it's because I enjoy like pop culture. So like seeing if this is supposed to be a representation of behind the scenes for a pop star, like I think that's pretty interesting. It's like, if this could have been better done, this could be a really, really good show. So that's what's kind of keeping me.
I agree.
Maybe I'll try and finish it.
I agree too. I mean,
and I will say 2 episodes in, I mean, you're just getting introduced to the Weeknd's character, like Tedros or whatever the hell his name is.
Right.
It gets worse, man. Progressively worse. So like, I almost don't know if you can give a fair review after 2. The episodes, I mean, that's about as far as I made it. But I mean, I'm on Twitter. I see clips of this show. I see reviews. I hear things from my girlfriend who watched it, like what's going on in the show. And it gets weird, man. So I honestly think at this point, we kind of need your full review, you know, whether next week or in a year, whenever you somehow muster up the energy to get through that goddamn thing. I think we need a full review after the whole season has been finished. And so you're at 1.5 right now. Let's see where you're at in a week.
1.5, but we're like teetering on the fence. It's teetering right now.
I have a quick Tedertainment Tonight show, and I'm sure, I don't know if you guys have seen it yet. It's the talk of the sports world right now. Perfect time to drop it during All-Star break. The show Quarterback on Netflix. So essentially what this is it's like a HBO, or it's like a Hard Knocks style show that follows Kirk Cousins, Marcus Mariota, and Patrick Mahomes. 3 kind of different quarterbacks, 3 stages of their career. All different, you know, things on the line with each of their positions where they're at the start of the year. And it follows them through the whole season with this kind of behind the scenes Hard Knocks footage, great interviews. And I just want to say they knocked this out of the park. They really did. If Full Swing was a 0 in terms of what that ended up being, this is a 10. It's everything Full Swing wishes it would have been, which is the PGA Tour version of this show. You see Kirk Cousins. It's just so interesting seeing these 3 different guys. I love how they did it. You just think about who the director, you know, when he's thinking of this plan. Let's do the 3 best quarterbacks. Let's do Patrick Mahomes, and so do Joe Burrows, and let's do, you know, whoever else, number 3, Tom Brady or whoever. No, I love how they said, we're going to do this guy who's fighting for his starting job, Marcus Mariota. We're going to do Kirk Cousins, who everyone considers like the middle tier of NFL quarterbacks. And we're going to do Patrick Mahomes, who's maybe the greatest quarterback ever. It was so cool. You see Kirk Cousins going through his preparation each week. Doesn't leave a stone unturned. He's literally, you know, talking to a sports psychologist. He's listening to the play calls for that week on his way to practice every day and back home, and parroting like what the play calls are going to be in the huddle. He's like doing chiropractic therapy. He's getting massages, constantly getting worked on his body. He has his wife pick out his clothes every day so that every decision he makes is on football. It's incredible. It was just so cool to see the behind the scenes stuff. And what was my favorite part about it was the fact that you look at, like, you know, mic'd up segments on YouTube or whatever, and it's like they clip up all the dumb stuff you don't care about. Guys making sound effects, guys talking about Game of Thrones, like guys crashing into each other at the line of scrimmage. We just want to hear the actual like X's and O's talk. And that's what you got on this. You got Patrick Mahomes dropping F-bombs, get in the face of Max Crosby, like being fiery. Patrick Mahomes came out a big winner in this doc. I mean, what a leader. You there's times where I look back on, like, you know, my career. I never was the rah-rah guy or whatever. And you just see him and how his teammates responded around him when he's getting in Max Crosby's face, screaming, like basically lighting a fire under his teammate's ass. And that's just something like Kirk Cousins doesn't have that in his bag. Never could. Can go through all the coaching, leadership coaching, read all the books in the world. It doesn't matter. You will never be that fire that Mahomes has. So I thought that was awesome. I honestly thought Kirk Cousins came across great. Showed you that, hey, whatever. I mean, dude, maybe he doesn't win the Super Bowl, but he's doing everything in his power. He's maximized his ability as a athlete, as a person, as a dad, whatever, all these different areas of his life. I just loved it. I really did think they hit a home run with this series. I can't wait for the next season next year. Have either of you guys had a chance to watch any of it?
Yeah, I watched episode 1. I asked you how many. You said there's 10 of them?
There's 8.
8. Okay. I'll definitely watch all of it. I couldn't echo your sentiments anymore. I mean, you're dead on. I mean, it was tremendously well done. I think Peyton Manning is behind a lot of it. And how lucky did they get to get Mahomes, you know, who is that fiery kind of quarterback? And then, oh, by the way, they won the Super Bowl last year. So I mean, it's just a perfect thing and it's just well worth the watch. And it's well worth, you know, between watching that and watching Hard Knocks when it comes out, man, I am going to be so ready for the football season. This is awesome.
Remind me again. Who did they follow for Full Swing?
They did Justin Thomas. They did Jordan Spieth. They did Brooks Koepka. Right. I don't remember the guy's name.
Was Rory in on it?
Rory. But here's think about that Full Swing, and I know you have.
Let me say what I was gonna. I think one thing that maybe they missed with Full Swing, that I think your point about quarterbacks, that maybe why it worked. At least hearing what you had to say, is that they didn't just go with the best people like what Full Swing did. Okay, cool, yeah, these are all the best in the sport. Cool, this is not really that interesting. Take the best, take the middle and take a dude, like you said, in Mariota, who's kind of fighting for his NFL job. I think that's
100%.
what makes it really interesting. If you just had Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, and Patrick Mahomes, it'd be like, okay, cool. These are the three best in the sport. So at least that's my first thought anyway.
And well, the thing, if you watched Full Swing, was they kind of promised all this shit in the trailer, like, oh, we're gonna be diving into LIV hard, like the cameras were rolling when this announcement happened. You better believe it. And then you watch it, and it's like and you stepped away for a second, Matt, and I was like, it was like the mic'd up stuff you see of the NFL posting on YouTube, where it's like fluff. It's like, what even is this? It's guys, saying down set hut 500 times, and then sounds of guys crashing into each other.
Right.
It's guys laughing on the sideline about Game of Thrones, squirting water bottles. Like, yeah, that stuff's kind of fun, but there's no substance to it. That's what Full Swing felt like to me. It was like, what even is this? It's and the way they did the whole, we don't even have to get into it. The thing they did smartly in this one, they follow the season as it progresses. They didn't tell Marcus Mariota's story, then Kirk Cousins' story, then Patrick Mahomes' story, like Full Swing did, going from player to player. It just was horrible. This thing is there's substance behind it. Like my favorite, one more teaser on this thing that I loved. Kirk Cousins, if you remember the best game of the regular season last year, you knew where you were when you were watching it. Vikings versus Bills, the crazy ending. You have, 4th and 1, Vikings about to punch it in to win this game. Kirk Cousins goes for the QB sneak and he gets stuffed. And you get the cool behind the scenes look where basically this is a Kirk Cousins audible. They're not in the right formation when he audibles into this sneak. He goes to the sideline after just getting stuffed. Kevin O'Connell, their head coach, is like, what the hell are, like, you got to let me get you into the right formation if you're going to do that shit. And it just kind of irritating me, like watching Kirk Cousins, Monday morning quarterback. Obviously, like, it wasn't the right play looking back. And Kirk Cousins is just like, yeah, I got it. And you just, a lot of cool, like, kind of interactions like that are throughout this entire doc. And that's what I love most about it, is you get the behind the scenes look of these moments that we wonder, like, what was going through his head? Why did they just call a QB sneak there? What the hell? And then you actually get to see it. I honestly can't believe the NFL allowed them to use some of this stuff. Like, as shocking as that sounds, it is that, like, kind of under the hood type stuff. It's great. So that's a 3.3 on the 3-point pod scale.
Yeah, I agree with you what I saw, and I've only seen episode 1, so I'm right with you. So that's well worth the watch for any football fan. Even if you're just an outsider, you don't watch it that much, it'll definitely give you a better appreciation of what really goes on with these guys. I know we're running out of time, but a couple quick things I'll just throw on the table tonight. Succession, I finished it. I stick with the Mount Rushmore of HBO. It was good from beginning to end. They wrapped it up like a show should be wrapped up. Definitely 3.0. I'll leave it there. Enough of that talk. Actually went to the movie theater last week. Actually went and saw Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. First of all, I'm going to say the beginning was really, really good. The end was kind of surprising, but good. The middle kind of dragged a little bit. I will say, I'm going to tell you the rating so far. I've got 2.5 on the rating. I thought it was very good for a little summertime entertainment matinee, blockbuster type of movie. The special effects were pretty good. Harrison Ford, for 81 years old, he pulled it off. It was all right. And I think the big take I got afterwards, I said to my wife, I said, some of these actors, and I was going to ask you guys this too. When I was in my 20s, there's guys like Costner and Harrison Ford and some of these others. And now to see them where they have kind of aged out, just like me, it's a little depressing to see them on the big screen. and I'm looking, it's like I can give you a perfect example, and he's holding up okay. Tom Hanks, he's exactly my age, within a day of my age. So I watch his whole career, from where he began in TV on Bosom Buddies, to being a mega superstar in the cinema. But now, seeing him get a little older, it's a little depressing, fellas.
Yeah.
That's all I can do. When you were in your 20s, who are your go-to guys?
Well, I was just going to say, I've heard my dad talk about that with the 3 guys that come to mind, because my dad loves movies and stuff too. Clint Eastwood, Al Pacino, and Jack Nicholson. And, to see them at the end of their career still trying to hang on a little bit is a little bit like, maybe just go to directing. Maybe just move to directing and do that route. Seems like Clint Eastwood, it took a while for him to kind of hang it up or whatever. So I can understand that. So for me, Leonardo DiCaprio was one.
Okay.
Seeing him age a little bit, it's like, man, he used to always just be
It
the
really
young
is. Yeah.
Brad Pitt, but Brad Pitt still looks.
He looks good.
He looks amazing. Matt Damon, so this kind of generation of guys, Ben Affleck, all those, that like when I was, like you said, teenager in my 20s, they were the guys that I was like, I want to be Leonardo DiCaprio. I want to be Matt Damon. So now kind of seeing them, they're starting to look a little older, I don't think Brad Pitt's ever going to look old. I think he's going to look great his whole life, but those are the guys that come to mind.
I don't know. I mean,
Channing Tatum for you, Jared?
Yeah.
Channing.
Like I almost think of it more like this way. It's like I feel old when it's like Post Malone. I remember the very day that he burst on the scene with his song White Iverson. It's like you see something on Twitter like, oh, that came out 9 years ago. It's like holy wow. It's like he's been in the limelight for 9 years. Seems like he just burst onto the scene yesterday. Right. So it's I think it's more so that stuff more than anything right now. And it's always been the weird realization when JJ McCarthy's younger than me. Like that's weird.
Right.
Like in my mind, like Michigan football players, it's like I'm that 10-year-old kid watching it on the couch. It's like that's how I'll always be. So that kind of realization, like Zion Williamson's my age, like that stuff is it's just weird to see that play out when your whole life they were always those guys you idolized, and now it's like they're kids to you. It's just a weird thing. I still can't fully wrap my brain around.
Yeah. Well, and again, it's something just the old guy here telling you guys, keep an eye on that. I just had a birthday, turned 67. And, I relate back to, let's go back to sports real quick, like the 84 Tigers. The 84 Tigers, that was my age group, man. That's when I was my sweet spot of playing ball. And now you see those guys. Petrie still looks pretty good. Some of those guys still look pretty good, but, you watch them get older and that's fact of life.
Who's a legend, Ted? And just because you brought it up, I wasn't going to mention it. Yeah. Alan Trammell. I love Tram. Every time he's on TV,
didn't you take a shot at? Didn't you take a shot at Alan Trammell a couple weeks ago, or was it Lou Whitaker? One of them you kind of took a shot at.
I said you're not going to remember Alan Trammell, but you'll remember Javi Baez.
Oh, right. Yeah, right.
It hasn't been a good couple weeks for Baez since that got but Tram on the Valley Sports broadcast came out and said basically athletes nowadays, they blow us out of the water, man. They are like goddess. They're gods compared to what we were. What do you say to that?
No, it's probably true. The workout regiment that they have, it's a 100% full-time job. It's all about being in shape. I mean, the athletes today are definitely better physically than in my day.
Yeah,
but I'll just say, and just to bring it full, I love that Trammell. Every time I've seen that guy, great mood. Every time I watch him, great mood. He's my kind of guy. He's a guy that I might have a jersey of one time down the road. Like I love it. Just had to put my support for Tram out there. Not that he needed it, but
he's a legend.
All right.
So I guess to say real quick, when I see like Barry Sanders, is like the one that comes to mind, starting to look older, or some of these other athletes that I grew up watching looking older. LeBron James is my age. Like you mentioned Tom Hanks. LeBron James is like 2 weeks younger than me. So we're basically like the exact same age. Right. So, so that's been like my whole life or whatever. So seeing him being the old guy in the NBA about to hang it up, it's like, oh man, am I the old guy too?
Kind of goes back to that. Was it an Instagram post you had where it showed you aging?
Yeah.
That was kind of cool looking, really.
It was. I thought it looked like my dad. Like right when I did.
LeBron is like the worst person to be like the same exact age as, because he's been on the scene since he was like 14. Like he's basically like Tom Brady, where he's not aging. Like that I feel horrible for you, man. That's terrible.
Yeah, he's still performing at a high level. And when I go shoot around at the Y, I like my hamstrings are sore for weeks.
You still look good, Matt. You still look good.
Thanks.